that we retrieved so far. So we really didn't know what we were doing, where things were at, because all the information that belongs to Sioux Valley Dakota Nation was erased. And to date, we only have about 80% of that information. So as a result of that, we now believe that we have enough information to pursue the ones that were involved in that. And there is a court case. You guys probably seen that on Facebook, where everything seems to get reported. So it costs the band, roughly with over 300, 400 employees, it costs about 300 to 400,000 every 2 weeks, salaries. So for 4 months, we've been paying that and not knowing where we're at. So there is a court case, and we're seeking to get repaid that amount from those individuals that deleted our information. It's not my information, that's your information. That hindered us from knowing where we were at financially. All our records were missing. In some cases, whole departments had to start from scratch. I've had some people say, "Where's my raise? Where's the evaluation? I did an evaluation." I said, "There's nothing there. There's no files. We're starting from scratch." So that was the biggest hit we took. And from there, we started to find our way through the finances. And now we finally are on our feet. We've got a good audit. And for most people, they don't understand. Maybe that's something the auditor can talk about. What's the difference between qualified and unqualified? Unqualified sounds really bad, but in this case, unqualified is good. It means there's no concerns from the auditor, so we're finally there. It doesn't seem like a big deal for most people. I know growing up, I couldn't tell you what the difference was between qualified or unqualified audits. But where that's important is from a business point of view. If you're going to go get a loan to start a business, you need to have a good audit. So you need an unqualified audit. So I campaigned on a couple of things. I campaigned on doing something for the children, a CFS law. Last week, we as a community voted no for a CFS law. There's been rumors circulating, and it's really unfortunate. One of them was that I was going to benefit financially from getting our law passed. I think the rumor mill was pretty effective in creating doubt. You know, we talk as a community, we say our children are the most important. Our youth are the most important. And here I am, chief of a community that votes no to get their kids out of the CFS system. You know, we have the same system in place that was in place during the 60 scoop. The same system in place during the years when we took back CFS through our tribal councils. And we still have that same system today. I attended a meeting in Winnipeg with all the chiefs, and they were all talking, we need to have a say in what's happening with kids in our community. Everyone was talking about the missing and murdered, kids missing, being exploited, all the feedback they're getting from foster homes. And I told the chiefs then, not one of you has a say in what happens to your kids in your community. We're self-governing, but even I don't have a say. It's in the provincial laws where chief and councils have no say. And that's why, before I came on, that's why the councillors couldn't deal with anything with CFS, because they don't have a say. This law would have been something where the community had input on what happens to our CFS system. That was the start. There's people here that went through that CFS system. They're young parents now. We have a fund that's supposed to go to the kids in our community once they age out. And I can't tell you which kids should have been getting that money, because I haven't received any names, reports, or nothing. I can't tell you which kids didn't receive their money when they aged out of the system 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The CFS system is monetized. It's a for-profit system. If people are wondering why they don't get their kids back, it's because kids are worth more money in permanent care than they are under a VPA or whatever it's called. So the system doesn't work for us. It hasn't worked for us. We have kids right now that are adults with families that call us every day and ask for help because they're living in places where it's not home, and they're struggling to pay rent, they're struggling to pay bills, and we help them through our gaming center. That's the only place where we have money to help some of these kids. So over the last little while, the other thing I campaigned on was doing something about the drugs in the community. We started doing drug tests, and we were finding a lot of staff that were using drugs. And I don't care about the drinking or even the marijuana, but when staff are into meth and cocaine, that affects what happens to the kids, right? You know, I used to think alcohol and smoking Peugeot was bad, but now it's normal, and now it's not even a big deal. What I'm worried about is meth and all the stuff that comes with that. So we took some steps. We took a policy approach because the courts aren't there to help us. The police's hands are tied. Unless you actually see someone doing something illegal, they can't really do anything. That's the way the laws are set up. So their hands are tied. So we took a policy approach to dealing with drugs. One of the things that happened is our main source of revenue that we can rely on to help people where there's no funding is the gaming center. So before Christmas, our revenue started to go down, and the reason for that is there was a lot of drug activity going on in our gaming center, so we brought security in. 6 months later, our revenues are going up every month because people feel safe. And you know, there's no money for off-reserve band members, yet we help them out too. Every chief and council meeting, there's someone from outside our community asking for help, usually women and kids, so we help them. We help pay their rent because we don't have a house to give them here. So that's why it's important to make sure that our gaming center is running properly, that people feel safe. What folks don't understand outside our community is we help people off the reserve, our band members, but none of them gamble here. It's the people here and the local people around us that are gambling that allow us to help band members that are off the reserve. So we're really in a critical spot with that. There's no money to help them from anywhere else. So that's why security's there. Security's not there to pick on anyone. If you got a machete in your backpack and you're trying to come into the gaming center, you're going to be asked to leave. Because people that gamble there don't feel safe. Now they feel safe, they're coming back in. Revenues are going up. But you know, that money's not supposed to be used for that. That money should be economic development, youth sports, youth activities, cultural events. That's what it's for. But we're living in a world where grocery prices have gone up, food is expensive. We're at a tipping point here where some people don't make it, and they have to go get a food hamper from Health or DTS. And just going back to DTS, I want to say that some of the staff are working really hard for the community. We have some band members here working for DTS that want to find a better way of delivering services. They want to focus on prevention. They want to stop kids from going into care. That's what the new law would have focused on. I had a band member from BC call me and said, I want to come home and help set it up. That's the work I do in BC. CFS calls me and I go help young families out, budgeting, childcare, respite. I do all that for them so their kids don't go into care. That's what we do out here in BC. So if you pass the law, I want to come home and help. So I had a meeting with the staff that were working on passing the law. And I said, I don't know what it's going to take to pass a law here. You know, we talk about our kids being important, but today it doesn't seem that way. But they're not discouraged. They're a little bit angry, but now they're determined. We're going to look at the law, we're going to see what we can improve, we're going to consult some more, and we're going to take another try at it. Because kids are important. I also heard the rumors that if we pass this law, Vince is going to take your kids. You know, that's crazy. Sounds crazy, but people believe stuff like that. There's also the rumor that I was after the money. We have a CFS workers here. They'll tell you that there isn't that much money for them to work with. So right now, if there's any complaints coming in on CFS, we can't address them. I've had 5 kids go into care since that law failed. And there's nothing the leadership can do about that, because it's not our system. Half the bands in Manitoba are under SEO. They get the money for CFS right now. They take a percentage. So if there's any problems with CFS, if your kids go into care, then you're going to have to phone Jerry Daniels and ask him about your kids, because we don't have any say in that CFS program at all. So that's where we're at with that. So that's my update on CFS. With respect to the claim, in 2019, we would have had no less than $900 million to settle our claim for being shortchanged on land. The lawyers at the time said if we work hard, we can have this done in a year. So if we had that money, we could have split it into 3 categories. We could have split it for housing, education, and economic development. That was my plan. But the community had other ideas. So today, we still get the calls. I need a house. My kid didn't get picked for post-secondary. I'm looking for work. We could have had that in 2019. Just to let you know, when we vote on things without getting all the information, that's what happens. So a couple of days ago, I deleted messages from people that were asking for houses, people asking for help for school, because I had to get rid of that. Because I don't want to carry grief around, wondering what we could have done. One message in particular was a young mother living in an overcrowded home. How do I get a house? 3 months later, she was murdered. I had to delete that message. These are the kinds of things that we carry. We try to find solutions. I don't read the negative on Facebook. I was elected to find solutions, so I've been trying to work on some of these things. Tried to get a CFS law passed, tried to get our claim done. I come back and I find out that our claim is sitting on a shelf for 5 years. No one's worked on it. I was told it wasn't important to the council of the day. They wanted to go in another direction. We sure could have used that $900 million today. So now, it took a while to put Sioux Valley back on the map because nobody knows Sioux Valley has a self-government agreement. When you talk about self-government, the name that comes up is Whitecap. So no one even knows that Sioux Valley has a self-government agreement for 10 years. So Friday would have been the first law that we passed in 10 years that we were under self-government. And I read a post. One guy said, we're not ready for it, and yet we're self-governing. Well, of course we're not ready for it. We just voted no. We voted no for change. We voted no to look after our kids. I thought we were ready for self-government. I was hoping we were. Other leaders have told me, no one's ready for self-government. You just got to do it. For over 150 years, we've been under the Indian Act. We've been trained to be dependent. We're brainwashed to go ask for help, to go to chief and council every time there's a problem. We're trained, we're conditioned for that. We can't flick a switch overnight and all of a sudden we're self-governing. doesn't work like that. We have to work at it. We have to develop our capacity. We have to get our young people trained so we can take over these things. I hear complaints, oh, you got a Washichus working here. You got a Washichu lawyer working on your CFS law. I said, well, give me a Dakota lawyer and I'll hire that person. We don't have one. For the last how many years I've been going to graduations, hoping to hear one student say, I'm going to go into accounting, I'm going to go into project management, I'm going to be an engineer. I don't hear any of that from our students. Luckily, we have some people now that have teaching degrees that are starting to teach, that are working in our schools. Luckily, we have young people now working with our CFS system that are looking at CFS as a career. So I come from the justice system, and I worked in the jails, I worked in the courthouse, I policed. I've seen all the stuff that people shouldn't see. I've seen the kids being taken because the parents were going to jail. Then I worked at the jail. And I looked at all the programming we had in there. And I was thinking to myself, holy shit, we got more programs here in the jail than we do in the community. I've talked to no less than 5 health directors. I said, train our young people, suicide intervention. They're the ones most at risk. And with all those health directors, I don't think they've trained one high school kid. It's a 2-day course. As a younger person, I did a couple of interventions myself. But there isn't a young person today that's going to come to me and say, I'm thinking of harming myself. Because I'm an older person, no one's going to talk to me. Young kids talk today on phones, text. Why do we have a text line? Why don't we teach these young kids to help their peers? I have 2 peers that have committed suicide that I couldn't help because I didn't know. I've helped my son do 2 interventions. He doesn't have no training. I told him how to do it. That's why it's important. That's why I've been telling the health directors one after another, train these young kids. Teach it in the school. 2 days, grade 11 and 12s. They're the ones that talk to each other. They're the ones that tell each other their problems. We keep training people that are 50, 60 years old to do interventions. No one's going to call them. Cemeteries filling up with young people. That needs to be fixed. In addition to dealing with those social problems, we still have a job to do as council. We're always told, run it like a business. Don't be personal, don't be this, don't be that. So we run it like a business. Then we find out that, some things aren't making money. I've been asked a couple of times, what's going on with the ranch? What's the plan for it? Well, how the hell should I know? I didn't buy it. But I'm stuck with it. $2.3 million we spent on that ranch. Who buys a ranch with no cattle? Who buys a ranch with no equipment to farm it? How does it make money? In the Washichu world, and there's an accountant here, it's called return on investment. If you buy a business, you're expecting it to make you money, right? He said, well, where's the business plan? There is no business plan. Well, what's the purpose of the bus? $800,000 or more for that bus. There's no business plan. I didn't buy that bus. How's it supposed to make money? How's it supposed to pay for itself? We got the Grand Valley. We're leasing it for 99 years. I didn't buy that. Where's the business plan? Again, I have to say there's no business plan. So these are the things we inherited. And you know, right now, the world outside us, it's hard to make money. And you can't borrow money if you don't have a good credit history. You can't borrow money if you don't have a good audit. These are things that most folks don't look at, but we deal with that every day. We talk to people who advise us, we talk to people who point out how things are going. If there's no planning, then some of these things aren't going to produce any money. So right now we just have the gaming center to rely on to save our necks. The plan was to move the gaming center up to the 1 in 21. There's a business plan for that. There's work that's being done. All that has to be done up front before you start building. You have to study the traffic counts. You have to make sure that it's going to make money for the community. There's a lot of work in that. We spent over $6 million on the governance building that we're in right now. We had an engineer's report on there, and it's built on footings. It's not built on a pad. So that building is going to shift and move, sink. So now we may be going to court with the developer that built that. So again, that's project management. Who's project managing these things that aren't making us money? Some of these things are hard to hear, but it's even harder to say it, to have to tell you some of the stuff we deal with. So there's likely going to be court for that. I was also asked to work on getting the land behind the residential school. That was supposed to be part of the settlement in 2019. But in the last 5 years, people change, and now everybody knows about that land. So chances are we're not going to buy it, because we don't have the money to buy it anyway. So some treaty band, maybe Peguis, gamblers, they're going to buy that land, and we're going to be sitting in the middle there on 16 acres. The owner of the campground wants to sell me the Turtle Crossing campground. I have no money to buy that. Sure could have used that $900 million. We have a high school that's falling apart. That was supposed to be a temporary solution. Now we have to move quickly. We may have to get some portables in to house our high school students. We may have to delay building our gaming center up on the highway to build a high school. I think the last estimate I saw to fix the roof on the school we have right now is $2.3 million. And that school's been falling apart since it was built. That roof has leaked every year since then. If kids are getting sick, it's because the air exchange system never worked from day one. So who do we hold accountable for all that? I'll try and fix it, but that wasn't my project. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of Facebook stuff I just said. Looking forward to reading about it tomorrow. But what are the positive things? As chief right now, it's very hard to see the positives. I'm working on the claim, yes, but we just changed governments. Trudeau's not there anymore. He's not going to help any more bands. They just finished helping the last 5 bands in Saskatchewan with their claims. There's a new government now, and their priority is pipelines and every other thing. It's not going to be First Nations, I can tell you that much. So we're back to square one. But with the time I have left, I'm still going to work on the claim. I'm still going to try and get it done. We had a meeting with Dakota Nations, and none of them are even talking about claims. Yet they have a claim that they should be working on. So what I got out of that meeting was, Chief, can you hold up on your claim till the rest of us catch up? So why should I wait? Why should I hold up our claim, Sioux Valley's claim, till these other chiefs figure it out? I know it's going to look like I'm not working with them, but you know we got some really serious problems here and we need to fix it. And I can't wait for those other chiefs to figure out what to do. So we're going to keep pushing ahead. That's the instruction I got from the council. Keep working on it. So every council is divided. There's opinions. Yeah, we can listen to those. But at the end of the day, it's a quorum that makes a decision. That's what we go by. So there's still a few things we can work on, a few things we can do. But at this point, I don't know where we're going to be, which direction we're headed. It's very hard to predict. The young people aren't engaged in anything, yet it's their future that we're talking about here. The young people came out in big numbers to support self-government in 2014. Where are they today? They're all adults. They all have kids struggling. They give up on self-government. So we need our kids now, coming up, to finish school, to go into areas where we can plug them in. Maybe someday we'll hear there's not that many Washichis working here. But until then, we still need their expertise, we still need their help. And we can't complain about it because we're not motivating our kids to finish school. There's lots of kids that have a lot of potential, but they just don't have the parents that send them to school. There's lots of kids that have the ability to go far, but they're not getting the support. We blame the school, we blame CFS, we blame the chief and council, but it's the parents' job to get their kid up, to go to school. Kids come to school with all kinds of issues. Some survived a drinking party the night before when they come to school. School is actually a safe place for some of these kids. So there's a lot of work to do as a community. So one of the things I'm working against right now is political instability. With protests and things going on, the government is calling and saying, what's going on? Maybe we should hold off on these projects. Maybe we should stop sending you money until you figure this out. So now we're in damage control. But that's what happens, right? I can go to the government and say, look, I have a problem. I need a school. I need to fix a roof. I need to do this for community, and they won't listen to me. But one person goes to complain, and there's an investigation. That's how it works. So today, I'm like everyone else. I'm a person. I deal with grief. I deal with things that I see that I can't fix. I see kids going into care that I can't help. I see some employees working really hard, and I see some employees who don't really care. Luckily, there's less of them than there is of the other kind. So as a community, we need to do more encouraging. I see a lot of staff. Some of them don't even look up at the sky anymore. They're always looking down because they're busy getting heck. So next time you chew out a staff member, don't expect them to work 100% for you after you finish discouraging them. Instead, encourage them. Our housing crew takes a beating all the time. All our programs do. But when you go on Facebook, it's, oh, they're no good. They're not doing their job. Must be nice to have a lot of time to sit on Facebook and criticize all day. Instead of being on Facebook, people should be helping out. Volunteer somewhere. Be part of the solution. So all I can commit to today is that we're going to still keep working. We're going to still keep trying till the community wants to go in another direction. That'll be your decision in a couple of months. Either way, I'm good. I always look for something to do. I always have a job. It might not be here, but there's always a community that needs workers. So my message is, there's a lot of stuff we need to fix, but let's encourage each other. Let's try and work our way out of this, and let's try and be self-governing. People watch us, even though we don't think they do, but they watch us. People were watching to see if we'd pass the CFS law because they want to copy what we're doing. So we need to start showing some results. Not only for us here, but for the people that are watching us, that are doubting us. Out of 63 First Nations, we're the only community that has a self-government agreement. We're not even using it. So that's pretty sad. So when you pass the CFS law, or I'm hoping it'll pass at some point, we need to start looking after our kids. We need to start making sure that they get to school. And I don't care if it's the parents sending them to school. We need to help the grandparents that are looking after their kids, their grandkids. We need to help the single parents that are struggling right now, that could use respite, that could use resources. We've helped some single parents. And it's not equitable, it's not fair. I know there's one person that we spent over $60,000 on her and her kids, taking all kinds of activities. And that person voted no on the CFS law. Doesn't make sense. Wouldn't it be better if we helped all the kids the same way and had the resources to do that? So those are my thoughts. If you haven't guessed, I'm a little bit discouraged, but that happens to all of us. We just work our way out of that. I want to thank all of you for coming here and seeking out information. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Chief Tatchin for his update and his words. And I was told that we were going to be going to the councillors, and I was told we were going alphabetically. So I'm going to be calling my last name alphabetically, so I'll be calling forward Councillor John Bell.
Good evening, everybody. I'd I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'd like to thank Chief Tatchin for those words. Pretty powerful. Those are almost as bad as his Monday updates. But, you know, in the short term that we do have, we got a lot of work ahead of us. There is tons of work. We need to start somewhere. We've started somewhere, and this term, for the second term here, the kids were the main focus. The kids are always the primal focus of what we were doing in this term, based in health, based in activities, based in the land teachings, and every day when we come to work, show up on Monday. It's what we've seen on the weekend. The crises that we endured, the crises that we fixed, probably 90% of the things that we fix over the weekend involve a child, children, grandchildren, young adults with babies. You can go on and on and on. There's a lot happening in our homes, a lot happening in the community. So one of the things that we, that I kind of look after, I guess, would be giving a bit of direction to our health services, our Jordan's principal. Everything that they've been tasked with this time around, this term, because it really wasn't a direction of the last term that I was in. This term it was a primal focus. So they're going to sit there, probably throw eggs and dead lettuce at me because they're tired of hearing this. Build the capacity. There they go. Yeah, they're all ready to throw. Build the capacity, empower our youth, and get these younger ones out doing something. We couldn't stress that enough. Everything from the mental wellness, we've hired another individual back to look after that portion of it. Start looking at and treating our addictions within the school, in the homes, and out in our community. It's an undaunting task, because one of these things of where do you start? Because everybody says it starts in the home. Well, when the home is dysfunctional, when the parents are dysfunctional, the kids are suffering. Start at the kids. Well, you got to have support from the homes or the families that are involved. And that's where the Twaii Services comes in. The first portion of this term was not an easy one. Finding out just how much data was lost, how much data was breached, and basically starting from scratch all over again. I've only been at this for 4 years. But the first 7 months of this term tested every nerve in my body. Just trying to find, collect, and then start acting on some of even the previous council's projects. There's a lot of people that we rely on. The managers being one of them, they take the direction, we take their direction from the Oyate and what we see in the Oyate. Our own community, everything that we see and what we deal with. We're trying to take a proactive approach on service delivery. Right now we're in a reactive state. And 115% of our time is based on that reactivity. We want to change that reactivity to something productive and start doing prevention. It's kind of hard to do. We've got 391 homes here with each home has its own, I guess, level of emergency or urgency every weekend. Every home. Start collecting those stats. We have to start from scratch again. When we start looking at some of the stuff that worked in the past, we're dealing with a lot of different things in our community that kind of knock what worked in the past down, and then we have to become reactive again. There's new drugs out there. The kids are younger, they're taking them. Focus on the kid. Can't focus on the kid because the parent is giving them to them. Can't focus on the parent because the grandparent is standing in the way, coddling them. So these are some of the things that these organizations, Tuahi, some of our managers, some of our mental wellness workers, our health workers, our NADAP workers, the addictions guys, these are all the things that they're facing right now. And I can't give them enough credit for what they see. Because in our short, hindsighted way of thinking and planning, is we got nobody helping them. They're taking all this stuff home with them. Need to really start building our capacity, and again, that's that word that these guys are sick and tired of hearing. Well, that's what their task was. That's what we're trying to do. Get our kids helping one another. I tried talking to my teenage son. I might as well talk to a brick wall. When he starts talking to me, I have no idea what he's even talking about. I got 3 kids at home there. They're all on different levels. Certain things I can address in the home, certain things I got to address, and leave it up to the school to address other things. But those are some of the trials and tribulations that some of our workers here, our frontline guys, are facing. Looking at stats, taking stats to ISC. Carol and I went and met with our ISC people there. I ticked them off enough that Carol got yelled at. These are federal people that are here supposed to be helping us. And they bring us to a table and yell at us. Some of the staff that you see sitting on the corner there, or on the tables on the side there, they're not there just for looks, they're there for information. We don't have them all, but you know, they were provided a direction. We've hired young children, young girls, young women, young men. I call them kids, because Auntie Kathy still calls me a boy, so. And worse, yeah. So, but in certain people's eye, yeah, I am still a boy. I'm 50 years old. I got my own family. When do I become a man? When you start looking at everything that they're dealing with and what they're the focus on, it's daunting. And the chief brought up feeling frustrated. It is. It's a frustrating thing every single day. Every single waking moment of the day. It's frustrating. We take on the brunt of everybody's needs here, plus we look after our off-reserve people as well. We try to. Can't help you, here's a resource. There's our resource right there. They try to find and help you with it. They can't find and help anybody, then they blame us for not helping them enough. That's fine, I can wear it. The members at this table here, they share the brunt of that burden. They take it home. I take it home. One of these days we'll get a positive out of it. Got 4 more months to try to get more programs going off here. 4 more months. And staff will put us into election mode. Nothing will get done then. Got a lot of great programs there that it's happening with Carol and Tawahi staff. We finally breaking down some barriers there, and now we got some programs that are in place. Just got to hash out the details and the deliverables and who's going to do it. We got a lot of things there happening with Adam's project and the lands. First time in I guess since I moved home, that's the first time that I've seen, what was there, Alexis? 45 kids sitting at a table. 45 kids deciding their future at a table. I just about did a backflip. Kids are finally taking charge of their lives, finally. And I could say kids up to 26, because I think my daughter, I can't remember her age, but yeah, I think she's around 26, 27. But it's great to see that they're finally taking charge of what they're doing. We gave them that voice. We gave them that ear. It's great that they come in and they're looking for jobs, and it's great that they come in and they start looking for services, and great that they're coming in looking for a direction. We all had the opportunity of sitting with our junior chief and council. Smart, beautiful minds. Hearing how they perceive things. If you've ever sat and talked with them, no negativity. What they want to see in their future. It was a beautiful thing to sit and talk with them. Got a lot out of them. They gave us some deliverables, and I believe we delivered on most of them. Couldn't give them everything that they wanted, but you know what? That's the great thing about kids. Oh, that's all right. We know you tried. Thank you. I've never heard that. I've taken on a lot for portfolio-wise, and just looking at some of the stuff here, it's pertaining to everything that a lot of them are very heavy portfolios. But when I start looking at it, they're all intertwined. Look after Public Works. Another department that's crapped on daily. Everybody wants to be an operator until you stick them in a machine. Now all of a sudden they don't want to be an operator. We're down to 7 staff members. They're servicing the whole entire community. You drive around. When's the last time you drove around? Walked around? You start looking at it, everybody thinks it's a small, tiny place until you start working in here, and it's a huge place. Some of the emergency services that I look after too, that's a shared portfolio with Uncle Rusty here. These are big ones. Thank goodness we've got a great staff that want to get the job done, whatever they're tasked with. Everybody's going to be pulling them in every direction, but you know what? To me, they get the job done. Some of the public works guys there are the ones that come and help your family members in time of grief, in time of need, in time of death. They don't question it, they do it. It needs to be done. They go and help and serve that purpose, help a family out. They're up there till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, doing what was asked of them. Then 8:30 in the morning, they're crapped on again. People have forgotten what they've done in the community. I haven't. Uncle Rusty hasn't. So all that ties into even the emergency services and the justice, the policing, the looking after the FSNOs. I don't do the stats. All I'm going to tell you is that with the emergency services, the fire crew, I love those men and women. I love the FSNO. Another hated department. When's the last time I saw any one of you kick in a door to go save somebody? I haven't. All the guys that I work with, Uncle Rusty works with the fire department, the FSNO, those guys take a burden home with them. Those guys need healing. That's the capacities that we're trying to build with our departments, the health, the Jordan's Principle, our mental wellness teams. All of these services only came to light 4 months. 4 months now? Again, lack of data. Lack of shared resources. Some of those silos from last term followed us into this term. Why? Because this man right here. The putrid hatred that they have for this gentleman. I share the health portfolio with Carol. The Brandon Residential Schools project with Councillor Hotain. Bison project, I share that with Uncle Tony. A lot of work. Our community has got to be the hardest one to look after. But we do have light at the end of the tunnel. We had a vision of bringing youth sports and activities back to the community. Randall, stand up. Stand up. This man helped bring baseball back to our community. How many kids? 67 kids are now playing baseball. We got the coaches in here. Stand up. The coaches, stand up. Thank you for everything. The parent support. Getting them off their couches, off their PS4s, off their I don't know what they are. They're cool anyway. They make a lot of noise. There is light and there is hope when you start engaging our kids. I'm glad my kids don't see a lot of the BS that happens here. But I took it upon myself to shelter them from some of the things that they see here. Some of them work in the community. They've been here for 6, 7 years now. 7 years, and still, they come home shocked to see some of the things that they see in their homes, in the homes that they go to. But there is light. We got some of the kids that are coming out of high school that want to go right into post-secondary to go after sciences, go after the health, the power engineering, medical services. These kids have a plan. They need the support. There's only so much that we can give them here. Keep going, keep trying, keep doing. Never mind the just do it thing there, keep doing, because they are doing it. In 15 years, they're going to be looking after us. I'm not scared, because they're all smart, bright kids. I know they're going to do good. Keep supporting them. I would like to have seen more here, but I guess sitting around with a bunch of old people isn't on their high priority list, I guess. So. But it's a daunting task. Not asking for a prayer pat on the back. We're not asking for praise. Next time you see one of these coaches, one of these young people, one of these guys that help you out in funerals, one of these guys that come and plow your road in the wintertime, putting their lives on the line, next time you see an FSNO officer, thank them. Because nobody else is out there helping their community and getting into the stuff that they get into, that they should not be getting into, but they are. Next time you see a war vet, thank them. I don't know how many times I run into Auntie Joanne here. I hug her every time. She doesn't ask for it. It's my gratitude for the sacrifice that she made. I go down to the shop and sit and have coffee with the boys in the morning. Every one of them. When they're off going to do their job. I love you, bye. Every one of them get that. We got health nurses that are putting themselves into precarious spots. They don't get a love you bye, they get a high five. We got other programs that are going to be coming up here shortly there. We're going to be starting to look at some of the traditional aspects, bringing in the clinical aspects. seeing what works for our community. We got a guy that's going to come in and take on the daunting task of trying to heal our elders. We'll see how that one goes. But it's a thought of trying. I can't thank the health staff enough. I can't help my public works staff enough. I can't help the FSNO. I can't. Everybody needs that support. But again, a few short months, time will tell what direction you want to go. Things are happening progressively, they're happening slowly. It's not all doom and gloom. Some of them have some wonderful numbers that everybody's waiting for, so I'll let them give you the numbers, the stats. We got an explosive financial presentation. Explosive. Yeah. You know how fun numbers are. Yeah. But the work isn't done. I won't be done. And everybody that's carrying a portfolio with me, there's still a lot more that we can do. And I'll quote somebody, how is our nation going to become better if we can't do better for ourselves? How do you expect better out of yourself when you don't do better yourself? I'm just reaching for straws. I hear it all the time and it just kind of blows off my head. She'll probably do her own quote. So, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing it. We're encouraging it. We'll get there. Hope we're done.
Say thank you to Councillor John Bell. At this time, I'm going to call forward Councillor Millie Hotine.
I'm going to be very quick because I know some of us need health breaks and I see people leaving every now and then. And then some of us didn't get the memo. We were only supposed to speak for 5 or 10 minutes. I'm teasing. But and keeping in mind there is a schedule because we still need to hear from the auditor. We still need to hear from our program managers and directors. And so I'm just going to go very high level of some of the portfolios that I oversee. And again, that's my role. As to me, what I see as leadership is providing advocacy, support, and guidance as needed to the portfolios that I have. And some of them are here tonight, so I'm only going to speak very high level because they're going into the details of their work. I always look at stats and measurement, because stats and measurement are important for us to understand where we are in any given situation, in any given program. It tells the story of how are we doing? Are we moving? Are we improving? Do we need to do things differently? And those are things that we look at in some of the work that we do. One of the things you see in your strategic plan, I shared with you some of the stats as of 2024. Our population of 2,748 people as of December 31st. We are a very young population, 50% under the age of 30. And that's huge, and that's the population that we need to be looking at to encourage them. And then we've heard the common theme of building capacity. That's what needs to happen in our community. One of those startling ones is the 6-2, and I'm sure some of you have heard that concept of the 6-2 generation cutoff. Again, policy put in place by the federal government to basically the second generation cutoff, once you fall off the 6-2 and you don't have status anymore, they don't have to provide funding anymore. And that has huge implications right across Canada, because many of them are feeling it. Right now, we have 793 that are 6-2 category. That's a lot. That's 29% of our population. In 10 years' time, we could see children, again, it's already happening now, that are being born status, but we still provide for them, and we have to think about that. But what that leads to is we should have the ability, and it was tried to, we were having these conversations 5 years ago on citizenship. We should determine who is a member, who our relatives are, and that's so important. And advocating for federal government that we use our population numbers versus the Indian register, because that's what they use to fund across Canada. So I'm just putting that there because to me, those conversations need to happen for us to look at how we're going to preserve and how we're going to advocate in the future. So I'm just leaving that one there. But that really, that's an example of the impacts of the colonial system, what it's had on our people, putting classes on who we are as a people when we know who we are, who our relatives are. One of the things that Sioux Valley's been involved in, probably for the last 5+ years, is we work with the other self-governing Indigenous governments, and that's what they're called. They're called SGIGs as an example. And that process, they came together in 2016, and it was really about building the capacity of their governments to operate how they want, and after they sign their self-government agreement. And at this table, they've been working together as a group, and each of those First Nations that come to the table and meet, they have their technicians there, whether they're legal, economic, policy, and they look at research, they look at advocacy to advocate to government for additional pots of funding. And so that's what we've benefited from. Sioux Valley sat at that table and we benefited from that. What they do is put together what the priorities are, what do we need to improve in our community right now. And since 2018, and when Canada releases their annual budgets, what's called Budget 2018, 2019, whatever, they have successfully advocated for specific carve-out funding when they announce First Nations get this much, they carve out specifically for self-governing communities. The results are what you see in our community, the infrastructure that's been put up, the governance building, the community center, the new water treatment planting, and housing renovations that are ongoing. So we've been fortunate to be there, to be working with these amazing technicians at that table, because we help one another at that table. In October of 2024, I was participated with the other self-governing nations leadership as we were advocating for a next phase of carve-out of funding. We were looking at infrastructure and life cycle funding, and also language revitalization and lands and resource management. Unfortunately, all the shenanigans that happened at the federal government level in the winter, and then the resulting prorogation of government, and then the federal election impacted our ability to do that, but that's picked up again. A letter just went to the Prime Minister to say this was a commitment that the government made, the Liberal government made, and that they need to act on it. So that's high level there. A lot of my work over the last however long we've been in now has been working with the Indian Residential School Project, and a lot of advocacy there, a lot of presentations, we've developed a very close working relationship with MKO and the Northern PTO that works with all the Northern First Nations, because many of the children that are buried at the Brandon Indian Residential School are from those communities. And so it was already established, and so it was just myself assisting and stepping in to help with that. So as a result of all that work, working with Grand Chief Sati and the technicians, we were asking the provincial and federal government to develop laws to support the protection of burial sites and sacred sites, particularly those surrounding the Indian residential schools. And, advocacy pays off, because now you have Manitoba saying, we are going to develop a law with you. And so that process is underway right now, and we're working with the province at different levels to ensure that First Nations voices and feedback are included and for co-development. So some of that, we'll be having some focus group sessions coming to you very soon. Catherine will speak to those. Again, we had the honoring of our residential school survivors on September 30th, which is now called the TRC Day, and our plans are to host We did an honoring at that time on September 30th, and we had plans to host another one this spring, summer for those that were not able to attend, and so we will set a date for that. Work is, again, it's been about relationship building with the different levels of government on all three levels, the city, the provincial, federal government on the Turtle Land Crossing. And I don't want to speak too much to that because there's discussions and negotiations that are underway right now to hopefully bring that to a resolution. Related to this work is with regards to the University of Manitoba. Sioux Valley was invited to participate in their repatriation and rematriation ceremony discussions. At the university, they have over 200 ancestors that are in that building, which were formerly, they were housed in the anthropology department, and that was just recently, there's been work doing on this to do research, not necessarily on them, but trying to understand where they might have come from. They came there through various means, probably since the beginning of the university, but what's happened is the elders at the university got involved, and now they're turning to community, all First Nations, because there's Inuit and Métis involved as well, to help guide them on what needs to happen. We know already that there's 4 Dakota ancestors that are there, and the recommendation was we're going to bring that discussion back here with the elders to have a discussion on, do we bring them home? And that's something that, again, we'll be talking about in the next, maybe in the next month. In 2023, 10 ancestors from 3 different sites were held by the province of Manitoba. They were brought back for reburial, and those are the ones that are at the Anglican Cemetery on the east side. So in collaboration with the team, the BIRS team will be hosting some community sessions to provide focus group sessions on those 2 items, but also on research protocols that need to be developed for our community, and those will be happening soon. I want to speak very briefly to education, which I hold portfolio with Rusty. Again, I'm happy to support any efforts that are taken to incorporate the Dakota transformation of education. That was a mandate given previously with the goal of full immersion in the future, and that's the path that they are taking right now. I was really happy to hear at the youth conference, I wasn't able to attend, but I went and listened to all the videos that came forward, and was happy to hear the youth that spoke up about how the impact of culture and language has in the school system, but also reinforced at home with our elders, has had on life, and the impacts that, the positive impact that's had on our life. It's heartening to hear from our youth learning our language and also through song. The success of students comes from the support and voices of our people to determine what is important for student success. We need to be engaging and learning with more like-minded education people in schools that are also on this path. I heard many wonderful speakers at a conference a few months ago. It was powerful to hear promoting Dakota language, Dakota, Nakota, and other Indigenous worldviews. And that positive mindset is something that I focus on, that I want to give thanks. And I also give thanks to our hardworking educators who are providing this work for us. Many have dedicated years to our children and for taking time to learn the Dakota language through regular programming. Speaking of language, I kind of wanted to quickly explain the language funding that has been happening in our community since 2019. The first Dakota Yapi project, and just I'm going to again speak to stats, and I've spoken about this before. In that project, those that were working on it identified over 200 fluent speakers, which was approximately at that time 12% of our population. 5 years later, this is estimated to have dropped to 7%. So we are in danger and we are in crisis. And I want people to think about those numbers because we need to have a plan going forward on how are we going to increase that. In 2020, I wrote a proposal for the Dakota Yapi 2 project and received $500,000. It was funded for the years 2021 to 2023, but it ran until March 2024. We extended a year. The Dakota Yapi 3 project was submitted in 2023, and that was funding that was used this past year and was led by Randall for the language programming, which was delivered by some of our educators, and it also included the language bowl, but I'll let him speak to the success of this. And then this year, we wrote 2 more proposals, one from education, written by Catherine, and then one written by myself, and that we were looking at focusing on education-specific programming and then also community-level programming. And we used the feedback that was received from the Dakota Language and Culture Plan, which was developed by those community members that came together when we put out the call to say we need a plan and we need to start measuring and what is our activities going to be going forward. So that we usually hear the results of this in July or August, and we're hoping for good results so that we can keep this important project going. With regards to Veterans Affairs, which I hold the portfolio with Carol, there's been ongoing research on this over the years. We did contract someone to assist with searching for more Dakota veterans information. Our goal is to create 2 educational resources, a book on each of the veterans, and posters highlighting. I also shared in the last newsletter that there's a veteran program called the Last Post Fund, and if your family members that are former veterans do not have a headstone, you can order one through there, and which is what I was able to do for my Inca, and I can help others complete forms if you need that. On finance and administration, we contacted a First Nation consultant to review our financial administration law and policy. This is pretty much complete now and needs to be approved by leadership and shared with the programs. And we need to fully implement these. Again, this has been a law that was passed in 2018 along with 2 others. Again, speaking with administration, I oversaw the development of our strategic plan and development with our directors and program managers. And it's important to have a long-term vision, not 2 years, 10 years and beyond. Where are we going? What does our roadmap look like? And how are we going to get there? Finally, Dakota Oyate Lodge, which I shared with John as portfolio. Again, I only provide high-level advice there as needed or required. My only really support there was just, again, helping to oversee the Net Zero project, which they'll speak to, which was achieved through a previous proposal that was submitted and approved to Infrastructure Canada, and that's going to be it's happening now, it's putting in solar and geothermal to the lodge so that it'll support the residents and the administration of the building there. So I leave it at that. I want to take time to just thank our cooks while they're still here. Thank you so much for feeding us. And thank you to all our program managers who are here tonight and to all our staff who support our community and keep us running in a good way. So pidamaya.
Say thank you to Councillor Hotain. At this time, I'm going to call forward Councillor Carol Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here this evening. I just have a quick report that I would like to share with you guys. The first information that I would like to share is regarding our health program, which I also hold with Councillor John Bell. So currently we are reviewing the health department and the health services offered through the Sioux Valley Health Center. The goal is to improve the quality of services offered through an assessment and engagement process and improve the communication on health services. This assessment will identify capacity development needs of staff. The Sioux Valley Health Center accreditation process is a high priority and development of a community health plan. The community health plan will be developed in consultation with the community. We are looking at the development of a Sioux Valley Health Services Board to assist in this assessment and the development of the services mentioned above. More information will be provided as the work continues. We have also dedicated a space within the community for our recovery and wellness at the community center. This space is being used for AA, mental health appointments, drop-ins, and traditional healing, focusing on youth mental health and addiction prevention services. We are currently looking for additional funding and staff. The long-term goal is to secure funding for a recovery center that focuses on healing through modern and traditional cultural methods through ceremony and connection. In the interim, program will continue at the community center. We've also had 2 groups that we worked with traditional healing. There was a report that Justin can probably elaborate a little bit more on that, but there is a couple of them here. Well, we had Kathy Sue that was part of that group, Rolly Bell. So at that time, we looked at, addictions and some of the needs that our people need and restoring them back to providing them with information on traditional healing and culture and ceremony. So through that healing, we took about 15 people in the first group. They went down and they went down to Bear Butte. They did some horse therapy down in Crow Creek. And so it gave them a good sense of connection through ceremony. The Jordan's Principle, Sioux Valley purchased a new Jordan's Principle building in 2024, so this was purchased through our capital funds. This was before the change within the Jordan's Principle program. So right now, the JP building had to be utilized for classroom space. So in February 10th of 2025, Canada announced changes to the Jordan's Principle program, which Christopher can probably elaborate a little more on. So again, it goes back to the group requests will be reviewed by a case-to-case basis, and Sioux Valley Jordan Principle continues to focus on the complex medical needs of the child and has continued to provide services for children with special needs. So again, if you have any questions regarding the current JP program, you can go see Charlene or Christopher. Also under the health, we have our Reaching Home project. So the Reaching Home project is currently in year 4 out of a 6-year funding agreement. So we call it the RHP. And the RHP shelter is fully operational, and it opened in 2024 with 4 units, and one of those units is a family unit. As of May 8 of 2025, the RHP team has assisted with over 200 cases. A lot of those are family-based cases. So the RHP has assisted with basic needs, shelter, and referrals, with case management, ongoing support, with outside organizations for shelter, income assistance, and medical health supports. One of the other portfolios that I hold is the employment and training in the post-secondary program, shared with Councillor Tony Tatchin. So we do have an update on that program from Tanya Wambadiska. But I just wanted to mention that this year there's going to be 16 post-secondary education grads, and under the mature grade 12 program we'll be having 17 graduates. So that's the largest mature grade graduates of the mature grade program, grade 12 program. Under the employment and training program, the daycare also operates with funding from Service Canada. So right now, the daycare has been severely underfunded. Through our meetings with Manitoba and Canada, which we call the IRIS Committee meetings, which are ongoing, which are supposed to support our self-government agreement. So this is the table where we bring up our issues when we're trying to implement our self-government agreement. So these meetings continue maybe quarterly or every 6 months or so. But one of the things that I brought up at one of these meetings was the daycare, and the province had just recently announced a bunch of funding and, building all these new centers across the province. And so I asked them, I said, well, how many daycares, First Nation daycares, do you guys license, and how many new daycares have been built in First Nation communities? So they came back and, we got a list. There's about 8 other First Nation communities that are licensed, and then a couple of First Nations communities in Manitoba where they had built new daycares. So I had asked, well, how does Sioux Valley get on that? You know, we would like to have our daycare licensed. So we started the assessment process in February. Manitoba came out and they did an assessment of our daycare. So based on the space, how many children are on there, they have a whole list of requirements, and they went through all that. They went through staff capacity, the training levels of each of the staff, and based on that assessment there, Sioux Valley can be licensed for 43 spots within our daycare. So this is something that that will also bring up staff wages within our daycare, so the staff wages can be comparable to that of living outside of the community. The rates will not change, and as well as there'll be additional funding for capacity development. So that's the first step. The next step would be is looking at getting the province to build us a new daycare, because we cannot. The daycare can probably have maybe 45 or under 50 spots. And so one of the challenges that our community has is when they're trying to go to school or when they're trying to seek employment, their childcare is a huge issue within our community. So, we'll continue to working with Manitoba on getting the funding in order to build a new daycare. So that's something that we're looking at. So in order for our daycare to be funded and licensed under the province, there's a few things that we need to continue to do, and one will be to incorporate it. So the parents have been involved in this already, and then looking at developing a board for the operations of this daycare. So we're hoping that by the fall of this year that the daycare will be licensed under the province of Manitoba. One of the other things in regards to daycare in early years is that when I came in, I did not know that there was funding that was provided through AMC for early years in daycare. So, of course, AMC, meaning the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, it's not something where they're just going to go and say, oh, we have this money here for you. You have to find it, and you have to make a request for it. So, through that process there, we identified $1.9 million of funding for the 2023, 2024, and 2024-2025 fiscal year. So that's a little over $950,000 for the daycare and early years programs within Sioux Valley. So in terms of governance, it's all a shared portfolio, so we don't have a specific portfolio, but it's just some updates on internal governance. So we had, when we, as council, we updated our Sioux Valley Human Resource Policy. We also installed an IBEX system. So an IBEX system meaning that it's easier. So it's like a fingerprint for your time card. So when you're coming in, you scan in and out. So again, it's to better track timesheets, as well as all the information automatically goes into the payroll systems. We've been, as Melissa mentioned, reviewing and approving a finance policy. The budgets have been complete and final funding reports are being completed. So it's in compliance with our FAA, which is our self-government funding agreement, as well as the ISC reporting requirements. Just this morning, as I was kind of typing out some notes here, we got an email that came in from ISC, and it's called and I don't know how this email, like how this information was gathered. It doesn't have too much information in the email, but basically it's a 10-page report, and this report is a general assessment report. So this came from Indigenous Services Canada. So it talks about an organizational risk rating. So there was 5 areas that they looked at. They looked at governance, which is low, our planning, which is low, financial management, which is low, program management, low, overall low. So based on that, it means that Sioux Valley has a very low risk in those areas. We are also on our year 2 of our FAA extension agreement, we are still collecting data for the renewal of our 5-year FAA agreement. We will continue to advocate for the additional reports required within our community, such as a new school, a healing and a treatment center, and overall increased funding for the community's health needs. In terms of CFS law, we will continue with the law and propose a fall date for a vote. Manitoba is committed to respecting our jurisdiction, and the law will apply off reserve. There will be community information sessions during the summer months. And then with our continuation on the IRIS table, which is something that I mentioned, so this is a table between Sioux Valley, Canada and Manitoba. We call it the IRIS table. There is ongoing discussions with Canada and Manitoba on child and family services, health, education, the turtle crossing, land conversion, updating our IRIS plan, and again, we continue to justify the need for the jurisdiction and increased funding within those jurisdictions. We are working with the Manitoba Dakota communities to document our shared Dakota history and mapping of our traditional territories. This will also include reclaiming our traditional territory, mapping of the sacred sites, repatriation of sacred artifacts, and the creation of Dakota cultural centers within our territory, which is a long-term goal. One of the other portfolios that I have is communication, so just going to touch on that. So again, that's where the fellows in the back, we have Bryden and Elton and Bill, so thank you guys for the work that you do. So the communication teams looks after our website, the app, they monitor and post on social media. There's also the radio station, they have a studio for live updates, they can create videos, manage YouTube channel, they do photography, they've done the school student pictures as well as some of the graduate pictures of the mature grade 12. They also attend events and document activities within Sioux Valley. So with a large community such as our size, we also created a community events committee. So this community events committee is comprised of staff from the different departments, so they meet regularly and they plan our community events. So some of the events that they planned were, we had the May 5th MMIP walk. They're also going to plan the upcoming powwow. There's a lot of events planned in the community for June 21st, the National Indigenous Day, so stay tuned for those updates as well. So thank you to our staff for planning our community events. And lastly, there's, as John had mentioned and the other council, we focus on our youth and youth activities. So with youth sports, as Randall mentioned, we have 67 youth in the baseball, ranging from ages 4 to 16, 6 volunteer coaches, and many parent volunteers. So this is the first in many years, and the season ends officially on the June 20th. However, with talking with Randall and the parents and whatnot, we hope that the children can still continue to practice and play over the summer. We will also be working towards, and again, sending 34 athletes to the Manitoba Indigenous Summer Games coming up in Norway House in July. That's pending fire and, hoping that the communities are okay to attend to. And then also more athletes in Saugeen for the event in August. We have a commitment to assist with youth sports, so we have many young athletes in football, volleyball, running, and all other forms of sports. We also include the youth in meetings and attending workshops, conferences, and also supported the 2024 high school grads, and we're looking at getting the grade 12 student suicide intervention training. And I just have a quick little update here from Robin McKay, who also works at our band membership. So she does not need to send any more of the birth certificates to Indigenous Services Canada. So if you have a child that needs to be registered, you just go see Robin, and she has completed a training for a document examination officer, and she can do the scan and get all the information set right there, and you can keep your birth certificate. So you still need to order the long-term form birth certificate with both the parents' names on it, and you will need to complete the birth registration form, and both parents need to sign a copy of that. and then Robin can verify your child's birth certificate, make a copy, and return to the original parents. So just some quickly, she gave some quick population stats. So as of June 3rd, as of today, we have 2,781 members. Out of those, 1,446 reside on the reserve. Off the reserve, we have 1,335 members, with 1,450 being female and 1,331 males. So that's my update. Thank you.
Once again, say thank you to Councillor Johnson. At this time, I'm going to be calling forward Councillor Tody Tatchin.
Hello, mitakipi. The coach is mitak. Tatewa kinap hemakiapi. Tatewa yom naji. Inawa zitkara duta. Today I'm going to talk in language we all understand, because there's a few fluent speakers left here. I'm not one of them. But my reports are, I share a lot of portfolios with this the council here. And for a year and a half now, it's been good. I like the way the council meetings are conducted. We all have a say in it. Nobody's left out. And we make the decisions as a council. So I've been happy about that. But before I start, I want to say thank you to each of the program managers we have here tonight and their staff. I know they all put up with, I'm not saying people, I'm saying they're putting up with all the crises we have every day. The educators, the crisis they deal with there with the children, trying to help them through what's going on at home. To all the First Nation safety officers, the firefighters, the public works staff, I want all of you guys to know that as chief and council, we do share what you're going through. We know that as chief and council, we've attended where we were asked to provide backup with some of our members, and we're getting a shade old to be backing up our guys, but we see the firefighters, we see public works, and we see the FNSO, and we all know what PTSD looks like. We all lost count of how many times we've been to a house on a wellness check to find sad results. We've all been to the sites where somebody was murdered. We've all been to the sites trying to revive somebody that overdosed. The ones that are hanging. I look at my staff and my co-counsel, the chief's been attending them as well, and I see the shock in their eyes. They're not the same women anymore. They're not. So when you see us all sullen and sad looking and trying to get through a day, then you know why now we're all experiencing it. We actively participate in what's happening in our community with the drug dealing going on. We've actively participated in digging graves. A lot of the people I dug graves with are gone now. The families that dug graves, they're gone. That's still grief with us. They were our brothers. They were our sisters. They helped their community. I'm just talking like this because I know all the council has already addressed every portfolio. The chief has addressed it, but our staff need to hear that. I thank you all. For those that don't know Sioux Valley, that's in Winnipeg, Brandon, that are listening to us right now, the reality is here in community is different than what you're going through in the city, and your life isn't easy either. But we've lost a lot of people that, as a council, we have to sign off on checks and still deal with grief of our relatives to help relatives bury their loved ones. So bear with us when we're sitting there quiet, when we're sitting there don't know what to do, when we're sitting at home and we're at our age, we have tears coming out, because it does happen. Our staff are hardworking. They sometimes falter. And we're all subjected to drug tests because of what's going on. We could sit in a council meeting, which we have, and we're called out to a drug test. So you do have sober leadership. We have to deal with other communities, try and help their people as well, and we have. We try and help all the ones that are suffering with addictions right now. It's the saddest thing to watch somebody on a road. Try and get them help, only to be refused. They don't want help. It's sad to see us all standing around when there's a 14-year-old ready to go to the cemetery. It's hard when we all have to sit there with horses waiting outside because some family wants a traditional funeral. We accommodate them and still do our jobs. We're up to a total of 155 buffalo, which is unheard of for Sioux Valley. Employment and training is already in the works. We've got ACC on board to train some meat cutters now so we could process our own animals here. And get this, everyone, we're up to 21 white buffalo. 21. Yet I see just half a dozen flags up there. You know, we got a lot of people that need our prayers. We got a lot of people on meth, a lot of people fighting with alcohol, a lot of people fighting with divorce, with grief. I'd like to see more flags up there. I'd like to see more people coming. You know who's coming the most over here? Visitors. Get a hold of one of us. We'll drive you in there. You could take you right up to the herd. They'll come to the window, actually. They know our trucks. That's one thing about animal. If you sit with them enough, they know your trucks. And we keep them up with minerals, oats, hay to supplement the short grass. We all know we didn't get the rain we wanted. We protect them from predators. We've had people coming around, snooping around, see what they could take, not from this community. Gates are locked to keep people from going in there, leaving gates open. We ensure the safety of these white animals because they're sacred to the Dakota. They're actually sacred to everybody. We welcome any visitors. And when I have time, Mark, I'll take you up there. But with that, we've done so much as a council together that, we can't list everything we've done, the people we've helped. We never look at a last name. We've helped everybody we can without looking at the last names. And that's how it's got to stay, and that's how it's going to remain. I can go through this list here. We share a lot of the portfolios, and they all covered all this. And I'm pretty happy with the directions of this council that we're going, that we're depending more on our people, setting up committees, boards, getting more input from the youth. I'm proud of some of the youth we've got here tonight. They show they care about this community. I was getting kind of worried there on Flower Day. I told my sister, Teresa, I said, when we go and our siblings are gone, I says, I hope somebody remembers to feed us. I said, because I didn't see any young people helping. In a few families, there was a few young people helping. What the comments I got was, well, they were still sleeping. They didn't come to cook. Well, my hopes are on the future yet. Youth are coming together. Sports. He had proposals on a table. He had quotes on a table. As a unanimous council, we all said, yes, let's support them. It got passed. It was done. Now, I sit on an organization in Winnipeg, in Headingley. It's called the Dakota Ojibwe Community Futures Development Corporation. It services 8 bands of the DOTC. It's an incorporated body so that the chiefs have no say in it. What we do is we take the recommendations to the chief and councils as, say, a proposal comes in, a business proposals, and we have to support that community. We support whoever they are. If I'm in conflict with Sioux Valley members, then the other board members step up and will support it. So I've been elected by the 8 representatives to be the chairman of that board. So the past 4 years, I've been the chairman of that board. And I never wanted it. It was unanimous. Nobody else wanted to take that position. They knew what was going to come. So I took it. I support that organization. I support our community. I got the business service officers to come out here. They've had 2 gatherings here now where they'll meet with community members to discuss business plans, whatever you want to do, and go forward from there. But each person is given an application to show they know what they want to do. They have to prove that they could start a business and keep it. But their job is to school, to teach, to mentor. So I'm supporting Sioux Valley in that way. I've never read off a paper before, but it's a lot of stuff to cover from everyone that we're all expected to know and cover. Money's still flowing. Projects are still going ahead. I see less people fishing out there at the treatment plant there as I look at Rusty. I need more people to go back to the way we were. I need people to start having fun, going to the river, going to do their fishing, people to visit, put a pot on, and address each other as relatives again. And I look at Tui Joanne when I say that because I greet her at gaming all the time. I say it in respect. But I go to gaming and it's like I'm 63 years old. I'm going to have my time in there because I'm not doing shenanigans anymore. I have fun there, visit my relatives like what we're supposed to do, visit relatives and laugh. And that's what we do there. We greet each other, we laugh, have coffee and a cigarette. I read the Facebook stuff on our stuff too. Somebody shows me all the time, but I leave it, that's up to them. They can be negative. I like visiting my relatives in the gaming center. A lot safer now, no backpacks. There's one time a machete fell out of a backpack in there. A hammer, syringes, packets of cocaine left everywhere. You don't see that anymore. It's safe to go there. It's safe for our people over 60 that live alone, that want somewhere to go to have coffee. That's why I like going there. I go visit my relatives, have a cigarette, get a wellness check from Rusty. So with that, that's all I got to say. And I'm proud of all of you. You guys are all giving it all. Thank you for everybody for coming, and thank you for the cooks, though I didn't get a chance to eat anything yet, so I always like to eat last. I like to make sure everybody got food. But anyways, thank you very much for your time, and I'm proud to serve you, and I've done it for 23 years I've been doing this, and I'll be hanging it up after this term because my health isn't going to let me go any further than that anymore. I've been proud to serve Sioux Valley. I've been proud to serve all of you. I've been proud to help all of you. And I hope that the children in this, I call them children, a lot of them grew up in my house too, and they were always welcome there yet. And I wish you all the best in grooming yourselves to take over our jobs. I want you to have my job. I'm not hanging on to this thing forever. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you once again to Councillor Tatchin. And last but not least, I'll call forward Councillor Rusty Taylor.
So light one up first. Oh, Matakipi. Good evening. There again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, tonight. Welcome all the people on our live stream. There again, this is a meeting that there was something that needs to be been waiting for a long time to come to inform our people, update our people. What's going on in our community, in our programs. And there are a lot of positive things that have been said this evening. And a lot of good words. And there again, we do have a couple of programs that aren't able to make it for whatever reasons. I do have some message or stats from them to go through. And they're going to be given the nod to keep it short here because I think we all need a health break. I was going to light one up right away, but anyway, to get the ball rolling here, one of the programs I look after, they're going with Cousin Tony and whatnot, is our social development or income assistance. Just a couple of points that they want to mention, bring forth there again, our social development or income assistance and whatnot. I've been working on a policy and whatnot, because right now, currently as the system works, is still on with the IC policy. We're trying to update and do our own policy. So they're going to somewhat make it easier and whatnot, and more understandable. It's kind of hard right now. And one of the bigger things with that too is our yearly file review. And it's hard to stress there again to the clientele I talk to and who come up to me with concerns and whatnot, unable to receive their benefits for whatever reason, their social assistance and whatnot, But one of the big things and whatnot, and here's the parents with their adult children, is have them look after their stuff, namely ID. The identification, because there again, that's a big part of applying for anything in community, even a job. So they're going to, in a sense, we're kind of gearing it in a way too, like they're again our provincial system and whatnot. For them to get assistance on the outside, say in the city of Brandon, they need to go and apply for jobs here and there. I know we're not as big as Brandon, but there again, we need to put something in place there again where our social income should not be your first stop coming into adulthood. They're going to have the programs in the community, our employment and training, our education and stuff like that, where these young adults, our youth, coming of age, turning 18, we should not be sending them straight to the social office. We should be encouraging them. There again was mentioned earlier. As parents, we need to get our kids up in the morning, get them off to school. Get them trained, get them educated. We need to do our parts there again as a people, our community, as parents, unkas, kushis, getting our kids into the classroom. Because that shouldn't be a first stop in adulthood. The first stop in adulthood should be at an education, employment, an HR department. What kind of jobs do we got? Where can I get a job? What kind of work can I do? These are the kind of stops that we need to. They're going to encourage our young ones to get out and try and find some kind of employment. Hydro, once again, I know it's an issue that's been worked on between our income assistance department and or our housing transfers. There again, I know we had some tough times in the past couple of years or whatnot, people getting cut off from there again because being on income assistance. There again, that's where our tenancy comes in and working hand in hand with housing. We need to keep our tenancy agreements updated with who we have in our house. There again, just a friendly reminder, if you have somebody in the house who all of a sudden is going to school, all of a sudden they start working, there again, our adult children. There again, now they are responsible to pay a portion of that hydro. Social development will only pay a certain percentage. Then some people are left wondering and asking me, well, how come I got cut off? Well, your adult child who is working and or going to school, are they paying their portion? No. And that's the reason. Just a little bit of clarification, whatever like that, to help the people better understand the system in the simpler terms and whatnot. Right now, there again, with disability, and some of them are funding for some reason being held by IAC, and that's another question that's being brought forth to me. The funding isn't there right now for our IAC for our disability and whatnot. We're still working on that to see where we're at, see what's going on. And then again, when the funding does finally come or whatever, then well, now that's another question for IAC. Retro pay, are clients going to get them? The ones who do qualify for it? I don't know, but we hope so. It's been, a couple of months, 2-3 months now. People have not been getting. And as the latest and whatnot, there again, it finally went through. Been trial and error the last couple of months, and we've been working on this for a while. They're getting direct deposit now. Majority of our social income assistance clientele are on or do have bank accounts. So now we implemented the direct deposit. So we tried it this month for June. and it worked. Yes, there's a couple of little hiccups that some of them did bounce back, but that's okay. Manual checks, non-manual checks were made to help them get their income. But it's something we've been working on for a while now, is to put this direct deposit. I know we have it in all other areas, employment and whatever like that, so this is long time.